Okay, welcome back to the Roadmap to Retirement podcast.
This is Roadmap to Retirement. Tune in for financial tips, investment strategies, and smart money moves to supercharge your retirement savings. Alex Neri, CFP, and guests are here to help you build your roadmap to retirement.
Today, we're going to talk about college. Have you heard of it? So this is a question we get from a lot of people. I wouldn't even say a question. It's a more heightened awareness in the current economy, I guess we'll say it that way, to the value of college or the value to not going to college. You hear a lot of people that kind of make a passive, casual remark of just, oh, I'm not going to college, or I'm not going to send my kids to college, it's too expensive. And I think we're at a point in society where you should have a little bit of pause and you should consider whether or not college is the right route for you or your child. So I guess for this conversation, I'm going to assume that I'm talking to the parent, not the kid. I don't know how many 17-year-olds are tuning into the Roadmap to Retirement. So if you are a parent, you have a teenage kid at home, and you're starting to look at what the next chapter of their life looks like, I want to run through the way that I would approach it, the way that I would think about this. I have a baby. I don't have a college-bound kid yet, but what are the financial considerations you should think of when looking at colleges? So I think right off the bat, we should want to determine whether or not your kid is college material, which is a mean way to say it, but what is the career prospects for your kid? What are they likely going to be doing? What do they want to be doing? I think the big mistake that a lot of students and parents make is they want to send their kid to college because that's the default setting in society. That's what everybody's doing. So you don't want your kid to be the only one in their friend group that doesn't go to college, and maybe there's some embarrassment that goes along with that. But we've got to get past that, and let's first of all decide if college is the right route for your student. And I think they should maybe explore other opportunities. If they're somebody that's dead set and they want to be a doctor, then yeah, college is great, but maybe they're better off doing a trade or something else. So if we've determined that no, they want to go to college, the way I would do it is I would actually challenge the student to do an exercise. I want them to go through building a budget, but not for them today. I want them to build a budget for the way they imagine their life being in 4 years. So 4 years from now, when you graduate from college, you're 22 years old, and let's assume that you're entering the workforce. If sidebar, if they have a career that requires 5 years or 6 years of school, adjust accordingly. But let's just keep it simple. You got your 4-year degree, you're entering the workforce at 22. What does your life look like? And step one is let's really research the earning potential of the career that they're going into. I'll pick an example. I'm going to say that your son or daughter wants to get into healthcare. They're going to go to school to be a nurse. Okay. So if I can go through this exercise and say to my 17 or 18-year-old son or daughter, okay, you want to be a nurse, you want to go to this school to do that. Let's see what the economics behind that are. So first question is, for your area that you live or where you imagine that they're going to live after graduation, Google. We have Google. Do a Google search and say, what is the starting salary for a nurse with a 4-year degree in my area? I'm from Rochester, New York. Let's say from Rochester, New York. So I've already done this, as you can tell. So in the Rochester, New York area, a starting salary for somebody with a 4-year degree in nursing is going to be about $71,000. So let's start there. Before we make any decisions about whether or not we're going to college, before we decide how much college should cost, whether I should go to a state or private school, let's start there and say that my plan, my financial plan for my college-bound student is I am going to start working 4 years from now, earning $71,000 a year. Okay, we put a number on that. That's great. Now we need to back into, is that a financially stable life based on the rest of the assumptions that we're going to make? So I would like to say that your 22-year-old new young professional should be investing and saving some money for retirement or their future in general. For simplicity, today we're just going to say it's retirement. And let's say that we're going to put 10% of our earnings into a 401k, 403b. It could be a Roth, but I don't really want to go down that path right now. Let's just say it's going somewhere for their future. So now I'm taking my $71,000, I'm taking 10% off the top of that. It leaves me with we're going to say 65,000 for nice round numbers. Now I have $65,000 coming to me each year, but I haven't paid taxes yet. So let's pay taxes. So let's say we pay taxes on that without really getting into the numbers there. It takes about, let's say, 12,000 off the top. So now I take my 65,000. Okay, so $53,000. So now I have $53,000 that I can spend. Great. It's good we know that. You should know that before you go to college. So your 18-year-old student should understand today that 4 years from now, when they graduate, they're going to have, we'll round it off, $50,000 to do something with in real numbers. Now we have an expectation for a budget. And if they're a typical high school student, they have no idea what things really cost. So that's going to be the next step. We're going to go a step further than this, and we're going to say, what are the expenses that you're likely going to have day one after you graduate? Let's see. What's the obvious one? Oh, yeah, student loans. So if you're looking at going to college, you should know what that's going to cost. Okay. Not everybody does, but if you're going to a private school versus state school, total up what is going to cost you a school, subtract out what you can afford to pay out of pocket. So if mom and dad are flipping the bill for the whole thing, great. You don't need to have this conversation. If they're going to pay for half of it, or likely the student's going to have a lot of skin in the game, figure out what that is. If you're going to take out $25,000 per year to pay tuition, room and board, all that stuff, and student loans, and you're gonna do that for 4 years. Really easy math. You're gonna love where this is going, but 25,000 times 4 years is $100,000. So if our plan is to graduate in 4 years and we're gonna have $100,000 of student loans, what does that cost me on a monthly basis? How much am I paying per year in student loans? You could do the math on this. If you do a 10-year repayment at a reasonable interest rate, you're probably looking at about a $1,200 monthly student loan repayment. Okay. That might sound really high to some people, might seem really low to some people, but we should know it. Your 18-year-old student should know what they are signing up for. So now we know we got about $50,000 of spending power when we graduate. We know that we're going to have $1,200 due in this hypothetical scenario, and your numbers will definitely be different, but hypothetical scenario, we know we have $1,200 a month due on our student loans. And then I would want to challenge the student. Again, this is homework for them, not for you, but if you're listening to this, go ahead and look up what everything else in their life is going to cost. So you could use today's numbers. 4 years from now, it'll probably be a little bit more expensive if we work in inflation, but have them find an apartment locally that they would want to live in today. So have your 18-year-old go online, find an apartment near them that is reasonable, meets their standard of living. It's not in the middle of a ghetto. It's not something super bougie, but a nice, normal apartment that they would consider living in. Find out what that costs. Today's world, that might be $1,500 a month. Now, will they have a roommate? I don't know. They can decide that eventually, but let's just say they don't have a roommate. That's $1,500 a month for an apartment to live in. We just said that they're in healthcare, which means they're not going to work remotely. And if they're not going to work remotely, they are going to need a car to get to work. Probably. Maybe you can walk. I don't know. But let's say that we need a car. So you're 22 years old, you're graduating, you're going to go out and get a base model sedan from somewhere. Maybe it's used. I don't know. Tell me what a reasonable car payment is. It's probably at least $300 a month. I don't know. So we've got $1,500 rent. We've got $300 a month for that. We've also got $1,200 a month for our student loan payment. And you keep going down this path, and you can see where I'm going. And I would encourage your student to make a little spreadsheet for themselves. But what else do you need money for? I have a car. Maybe it's electric. I don't know. But I probably put gas in that car. So what does gas cost me on a monthly basis? Groceries, going out, having fun, traveling, like being a normal human being, and start to figure out, can I fit my desired lifestyle in the career path I'm choosing? Because maybe they'll choose a different career path. If they decide that they can't live on a nurse's salary, maybe they'll decide at 18 that they don't want to be a nurse. They won't have to wait until they're 25 to decide they don't want to be a nurse anymore. So let's decide that. Let's also use these numbers to decide which school to go to, because I promise you, your 17, 18-year-old student, when they pick their college, as much as they are seeing the numbers on paper, it is not real to them until they go to pay it back. So let's use this exercise to make it a little bit more real, but this might be enough to get your child to go, I don't want to go to this expensive university. I'll go to the one that gave me the better scholarship, or I'll do the state college, or my favorite option is do community college for 2 years, save money there, and then do a 2+2 type situation. I think the more that you can do as a parent to make these numbers real to your kids, the better off they're going to be. They will thank you later. They might not feel reasonable right now when all their friends are going to different colleges and buying hoodies and bragging to their friends about it, but someday down the road, they will, in fact, thank you. So, what we've accomplished by taking your kids through this exercise is we're making them very aware of not just the starting salary, but the spending power they have there. We're adding into that the necessity of building a budget. So, $50,000 per year probably doesn't mean much to most 18-year-olds. It's way more money than they've ever made before. That sounds like a lot of money, and that's great, but what is the actual lifestyle you can live on that money? And again, I would rather have them rethink their career options when they're going to college than waiting until they've gotten the degree and realize that it's not a degree that they actually want. So I think that's helpful to take them through that. Other considerations when you're thinking about how do we pay for it, if you're a parent listening to this, Applying for every type of scholarship is important. Do that. There's even the little ones that'll be part of the award ceremony at the end of the school year in high school. You get those $500 scholarships, apply for loans. If you can help your kids out, they'll thank you. But if you can't do that, you're not in a position to do that. Helping them understand the responsibility of the loans that they are taking and keeping that very real. If they can work throughout college, that probably helps too. I think that's about it for college that I want to talk about. I like to end these by talking about one question you should ask your financial advisor. I have a list. If you don't know, I've got a list of questions that I hand out to prospective clients to help them ask the right questions. It's something that we genuinely put together, and I've had help from other advisors in doing this. But a lot of times, the first time I meet with a client, I feel like they don't know what to ask. They've never met with an advisor before, so how would they know? So it's a helpful list. So one question I'll pull off that list today. Let's do designations. So the question I would phrase to the advisor is, what designations do you hold and how are they relevant to me as a client? So there's a lot of designations that exist in the financial advisory space. There's the alphabet soup of different things you can have after your name. Some is for ego, some is for knowledge, or maybe somewhere in between. But if I were an advisor, or if I were a client looking to hire an advisor, I would want to make sure that whatever designations I have align with what I'm looking to do. So there are some designations that are very much retirement plan centric and group retirement plans. They're specific for advisors who work with 401k plans, and they help administer those at the employer level. So although the letters after they might look good, they might not help you as an individual if you are looking to plan your own retirement. There are other designations that are geared around really helping retirees. So for example, one designation that I hold is the RICP. It's a retirement income certified professional. It is all about income streams in retirement. So everything from how different pension systems work to distributions out of retirement accounts to decisions around Social Security and Medicare. So it's very much geared towards a retiree client, probably between the ages of 55 and 75, somewhere in there. So although it's impactful for those people, if you're a 35-year-old listening to this, that's probably not a designation that moves the needle much for you. So looking for designations that line up with what you need. The gold standard in our industry is the CFP, Certified Financial Planner. I'm one of those too. It's a very in-depth, wide amount of knowledge that they're tested on. I think it's great. I think it's a good one to have. I don't think it's the end all. There are great advisors out there that don't have any designations. There are terrible advisors out there that have a lot of designations, but I do think it is a question that you should be asking your advisor. All that being said, not to bore you, but we are going to wrap it up there. Thank you for listening. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. We do a client or listener question mailbag episode every once in a while. I think we have another one of those coming up. So if you submit your question, you might even get to hear me read it out loud. That'd be exciting. That's it. Thanks. Bye.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA and SIPC. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. Individual tax or legal matters should be discussed with your tax or legal professional.